We're not talking about little dinky shit on this channel. We're talking about the big dog lessons, seven-figure month lessons, and a lot of that starts with having what we call daily lead flow. Daily lead flow comes in many forms. It comes in call funnels by having people apply who are qualified, then being allowed to book, going straight onto your sales team's calendars, and just doing deals every single day, thus daily lead flow. DM strategies, low ticket to high ticket. Some people that we know are even crazy enough to do webinars every single day, as audacious as that is. The moral of the story, in this particular video, we're talking about the big dog lessons on how to launch a call funnel. One big request that we get from all the people who are stuck around a couple $100K a month that want to get to their $1 million months is they lack the daily lead flow side of things. Surprisingly, they've done well either organically with some of these same exact funnels, but just fail to roll them over to paid ads, or they get stuck on what we call lump sum funnels. Lump sum funnels are things like webinars, challenge funnels, live events, virtual events, something that creates revenue charts that look like this. Daily lead flow is more of an up and to the right kind of chart as you consistently pour more money into it and make more money out of it. Again, in this particular video, we're talking about how to start at the very beginning a call funnel to help you aid your journey in hitting seven-figure months. Again, we don't make any income claims around here. All we do is take the lessons of the people that we've helped, been there, done that, hit $1 million months, and hand them down to you in little bite-sized clips right here on YouTube. We aren't making any income claims implying you're gonna be able to make any money from these things. Oh, no. Just the lessons. That's what you're here to learn. Again, my name's Jeremy Haynes. Welcome back to the channel. If you're already a subscriber, it's always a pleasure to have you here. Without further ado, let's dive in. So first of all, when you're gonna launch a call funnel, one of the things that I just wanna set the stage for immediately is the level of involvement that you should have, okay? We get a hubris, a level of pretentiousness when you hit a measly fucking couple $100,000 a month in business owners that is just intolerable when you're trying to launch something. When you're launching something, your level of involvement should be extreme. Okay? That's how you're gonna be able to understand in the trench level of what's going on in the business, what needs to be done to improve things, okay? Let's face it, you generally have no idea what the fuck you're doing on the marketing side of things. Otherwise, you'd already be cracking a couple $1 million a month. That's why you're sitting here on this channel. When I say I wanna set the tone straight away that you're gonna need to be in the trenches, all of what I'm gonna talk about as it relates to launching is gonna require a rather significant amount of time and effort from you comparatively to you just being able to hand this shit off to somebody else. The people who get, like we had a guy just join the Inner Circle recently. His name was Devin. Devin joins the group, he's around $100,000 a month. The bare fucking minimum it takes to qualify to be a part of the Inner Circle. He goes to $400,000 a month within 3 months of being a part of that group. Again, not an income claim, not an expectation I'm setting that you're gonna be able to experience and when you join into the Inner Circle. However, what I do wanna make clear is that boy was on the phones. He was taking calls. He was learning firsthand what was missing on his confirmation pages that he needed to make some new breakout videos for. He was understanding what adjustments needed to be made to his value-dense email sequences that could create one-call closes and shorter sales cycles. He was fully aware from being on the calls what was happening when somebody wouldn't close, but would later close maybe a couple days later after a second follow-up call. He was able to take all of these trench-level lessons and turn around and dramatically improve both the front end of his messaging, from his ads to the landing page, to the VSL tweaks, to the confirmation page, to the hammer them videos, to the sequences that people would receive pre-call, to the manual things that salespeople would send off. Here's the best part. He also accumulates a significant training library full of recorded calls that he banged closed himself, that he can turn around and hand to his salespeople as he now fills up their calendars. You see, one of the things that just always escapes me for why this ends up being the mentality of a business owner as small as only doing a couple $100K a month is their level of just,
I can't get in the trenches. I can't do a fucking sales call. No, I don't have time to fucking do any of this shit.
It's like, that's why you're making what you're making and you're not making a fuckload more, because you're not willing to do some of these things for a super short temporary duration of time to eventually get it to the point where you can completely hand it off in literally the most efficient and effective way possible. Otherwise, let me tell you what you do comparatively. You just guess. Okay, when you just guess what? You're just gonna have longer durations of time to eventually being able to scale up. That's the thing that almost everybody on my channel cares about. They care about the fact that they're trying to get there faster, okay? Let's be honest. You could work at McDonald's and eventually hit $10 million accumulatively. It just won't happen in a year. It won't happen in a few months. It's gonna happen over a damn near lifetime of work to be able to hit those numbers. That's what you value. You value the speed to being able to compress making more money in a shorter duration of time. Thus why you're on a channel learning about hitting $1 million months. Every single person who learns from me, when they're only at a low couple $100K a month, they don't gaslight themselves into saying things like,
oh, well, I got a great sales guy, man. He's gonna relay all that information to me anyway.
get fucked, okay? Get fucked. That's not gonna be the case. Fill that person's calendar and fill your calendar too. And compare the feedback that you get firsthand to the feedback that they give you. And you'll see how wide that discrepancy truly is. Okay, so let me be super clear. The very first point when it comes to how to launch a call funnel is involvement. Okay? A high level of involvement. Take sales calls. That is the best thing you could do when it comes to launching a call funnel, because you're gonna immediately realize, let me just be extremely clear and more like matter of fact, bullet point summary style with you for what you're gonna get out of taking the calls, just to be clear. Number one, you're gonna get genuinely good feedback that helps you improve all of the things across all different front end and back end aspects of your funnel. You're gonna learn what needs to be different in your messaging. You're gonna firsthand experience who gets on the phone that's attracted to get on the phone because of your front end messaging. You're gonna potentially get frustrated, just like your salespeople might, about the fact that somebody didn't consume the entirety of your VSL, which never fucking happens. Then you're gonna realize, okay, I need a handful of specific breakout videos for my confirmation page. And based on taking some of these calls myself, these are the most evident things that I would love for people to know beforehand and that come up most commonly and that I also feel are holding people back from getting on the calls. Let me make some breakout videos and throw those on the confirmation page. Let me take those same videos and let me make some value dense email marketing sequences. Let me add those. You know, as a matter of fact, I'm seeing from my high level of involvement when I look at the open rates for all my pre-call emails, I'm sending 4 emails a day and the open rates haven't diminished at all. Maybe I can get away with sending another 2 more per day. You know, one thing that I'm also noticing is from being on the calls, a lot of the people who can't show up during business hours are trying to reschedule for after business hours. So therefore the availability that I need to have is outside of traditional business hours. You know, imagine how frustrated a 9-to-5 worker is when every business that they need to interact with, like banks as an example, are also open from 9 to 5. How the fuck are they supposed to function? Think about this. All the people that you might want to be selling, whether in the general public or rich people, are doing shit during the day. One of the things that we found most interesting and hyper valuable from the business owners in the trenches themselves taking calls on new offers they're launching or just new things like call funnels being launched is that they learn that the peak times that people love taking calls are way outside of the periods of time that they want to take calls. You see, and that discrepancy causes them to eventually, when hiring salespeople, telling their new sales guys, hey, these are the specific time windows that we would encourage you make yourself available if you want to have the highest show rates, okay? In addition to that, the high level of involvement of you being in the trenches is going to give you the feedback that you need when you're doing things like sending selfie videos, when you're crafting sales assets and trust assets to help aid building trust and increasing interest levels prior to the call. You're going to be able to develop value-driven follow-up in real time yourself from seeing what's getting responses and what's not. You're going to be able to craft scripts for both the pre-call text messages and those pre-call phone calls you might be lucky enough to get, in addition to the actual call scripts for what are a great set of questions and a great set of talk tracks to actually have your sales team go through. You can scale up, in most instances, some kind of high-ticket product or high-ticket service to at least 200 to 400K a month just getting on the sales calls yourself. And you don't have to do it forever. By no means am I sitting here telling you, as a person who identifies as a busy, rich individual, that you're gonna need to be on sales calls for a long time. In most instances, people do this for about a month. Sometimes they do it upwards for 2 to 3 months until they have something that is a higher dollar value per hour action that they could justify taking otherwise. But a lot of the time, this is very important to understand, especially if you have a low fulfillment offer that you already have a system or a team in place to help you deliver on. I mean, just justify to me what else you can do that's a higher dollar value per hour action than this when you're trying to get something off of the ground that is going to be a long-term core revenue driver for your $1 million months. It just always drives me crazy that there's no willingness to do these kinds of things. But again, the businesses that have the fastest growth on these types of funnels, they have that kind of frame going into it, okay? So again, let me move on to some of the other points that I wanted to make clear, but I start with that, I drill down on that, and I have such passion about that because it just is such a huge revenue driver for those that are willing to do it, okay? So anyway, let's jump on to some of the next things. You're gonna need a gambling budget. If you've been on my channel before, we view advertising as gambling. You are going to need to have a burn budget, an amount of money that you're willingly going to light on fire, vaporize, and poof, make it gone in the instance that things don't work out, that doesn't put you in a financial hole that's gonna devastate you or ruin you financially, but is gonna allow you to acquire the necessary data that you are going to need to look at, reflect on, and then use to leverage into some optimizations that are gonna be necessary to start getting things to work a little better. As an example, maybe you launch and you have a scary high cost per call, and you immediately learn by spending a couple $1,000s over a week that you have dog shit ad creatives, or that you have a huge misunderstanding for what the audience is that you're targeting versus the messaging that you're trying to target them with. And therefore you need to have more congruency and more appeal, and you need to test and find that majority hook that's actually going to appeal to the people that you're attempting to sell to. Or maybe you need to spend enough to find out that the audience you think you needed to target doesn't give a fuck about you at all, and you need to switch audiences to something else completely. There's a lot of stuff that you generally need a burn budget, okay? That's what's interesting about the gambling budget, okay? Usually, the gambling budget is made up of a larger sum of money. Let's use the example this gambling budget is $50,000, an amount that you don't need to spend within a day, an amount you might spend over, let's say, a 30 to 60 day duration of time. You could break that into whatever chunks you'd like. However, here's usually how it starts. Usually the first part of this is literally just caught on fire. You are in no way, shape, or form going to actually have a high probability to make money off of this first couple dollars spent. Quite the opposite. You are very probable to lose money on the first part of these dollars spent. And generally it's because of the fact that you think something in particular is going to work and it ends up not working at all and really sucking ass. And then you got to go back, reflect on the data, make the necessary changes, relaunch stuff, go through another little burn window until eventually, and this is the good news, eventually it finally cracks. You don't end up in this position where like it's cracking at a big level, but you start to see what we call signs of life. Okay, so signs of life are usually after you've gone through that little burn period and you've just vaporized whatever amount of money you're gonna vaporize. You then start seeing something good. Your salespeople or you on the phones start to get the right people through. But then you kind of notice the next crack and you gotta fix that. It might be that people are coming through, they're eventually closing, but the sales cycle's way too long. Or that you're getting people to close, but the AOV's super low. And you might need to work in a funding partner or just have something that could get people willing to pay in full, you know? You might start seeing some necessary tweaks that are going to need to be made to your offer when you're appealing to cold traffic, whereas historically your organic offers worked really well, but it's just not going to be something you could roll over to paid. So you might need to tweak it a little bit. There's just going to be little tweaks. That little window where there's officially signs of life, that's when it starts to feel good, okay? That's when you're technically coming out of the hole, but you're still not completely out of the hole yet. Okay, and let me just be clear on how this ends up looking. So if this little purple line, anything below this threshold here represents we're losing money. And anything above that line represents we're officially making money. Usually the little burn window looks like you're digging yourself into a hole until eventually everything just swings back and you're officially profitable. That's what most businesses fail to endure through. They officially launch it and they think that everything's just fucking lollipops and rainbows out here and they're just gonna flick some ads on and instantaneously be profitable at like a 5-to-1 level. That's just not in almost all instances how it works. Even when you work with people like me, you just don't always have immediate profitability. You usually have a period of time where you're gonna launch some stuff. It's not gonna work that well initially. You gotta reflect on it, make the necessary tweaks, do it with enthusiasm, do it with speed, and you do it with confidence because ahead of the time, you determined your gambling budget, okay? And you are willing to go through the process of vaporizing X amount of dollars to figure it the fuck out, okay? We had an Inner Circle member, longtime Inner Circle now, probably a good few years. This guy's been a part of the group, and organically, this guy's done 400 to 600K a month forever. You know, since I met the guy, that's where he's been at. And he's been there damn near this whole time. And just recently, he's finally gotten paid advertising to crack. I'm not exaggerating when I say this poor guy probably went through a good like 8-month duration of burn, and along the way started to see signs of life, and then it just feels like it cracks randomly to a degree, where you've stacked enough things, you made enough tweaks, you finally figured it the fuck out, and then bam, you cross over that threshold of profitability where you officially enter into the ROAS positive territory. Now, obviously, need I not say, you have an unknown duration of time, give or take how much burn you actually endured throughout the figure it the fuck out process, to where you eventually cross into the profitability threshold matrix and you're officially making a bunch of cash. But through that window, need I not say that like you're initially going through a reaccumulation phase, like you're trying to reaccumulate the burn, over a long duration of time, like you're technically still not profitable, but you eventually get to the point where you're profitable, and then obviously you can reinvest and start scaling. Boy math would tell you that the money you've already spent and that you've already paid off on your credit card, that you've already burned willingly, when you finally do get profitable, would just feel like profit. And you can start the reinvestment process and scaling from there, or you can just sustainably wait until you reaccumulate all the money that you burned, get to the point where you're truly profitable, and then scale into it once you're actually profitable, factoring in the money that you've already burnt as well. Up to you for however you chalk it up. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is most people who are gonna launch any kind of like VSL call funnel, they always fail to endure that first part. And they'll start losing some money, and the hole just keeps getting deeper, and they're like,
fuck me, dude, like this shit's not gonna work.
Now, I do want to be fair in saying, you don't just spend money indefinitely doing the exact same stuff and then just eventually figure it the fuck out. It's very important that I stress and emphasize, in order to change the direction and start the process of seeing the signs of life phase, you obviously have to reflect and make the necessary changes and tweaks that are required to get to the point where you're actually profitable and start to see the upside, okay? You don't just sit there and like do the exact same stuff and just expect it to randomly work. I do want to note there is one instance where you do kind of want to sit around and wait. And that's when you've saw the signs of life and you might be going through like a pixel conditioning phase. A good example of this, like we had a client, we acquired this account, and when we acquired the account, their existing pixel that they had spent like hundreds of thousands of dollars on got blocked. And they didn't have the ability to get data back to the pixel anymore through standard events. The advertiser that was before us fucking did who knows what. And again, those pixel parameters of standard events being passed back to it were blocked. So we had to create a new pixel to be able to optimize around standard events. So as most of you know who have advertised and have some trauma who can relate to this, when you launch a brand new pixel, I mean, you got to condition it. You got to go through an unknown duration of time and an unknown amount that you need to spend to essentially condition it and get it to know who the right people are, so it starts to double down on going after the right people. So in this particular case, when we acquire this account and we come into this set of circumstances, we launch a set of messaging that's thankfully been proven. We launch another set of messaging that is unproven, geared towards an even higher end demographic that's gonna spend more money. This client had a 10K service and a 35K service. We wanted to optimize around the 35K service being sold so we can make more money per sale. So we start testing some new messaging. We use the schedule standard event, okay? And we start the process of conditioning. We get about $22,000 into the hole before we start to see the signs of life. And once we start to see the signs of life, for us, that looked like great sales team feedback. That's always typically the leading indicator. From there, we got the opportunity to start getting some qualified people to report back to the pixel. It started off with a very high unqualified to qualified ratio, and then that ratio started to flip. As you are going through the period of time where the ratio flips, that period of time is where you've got to kind of wait. You've got to allow the pixel to condition, you've got to allow the ratio to swap, and that can take weeks, that can take tens of thousands of dollars in some instances. So I want to be clear in saying there's plenty of things you could do, which is what we're going to talk about now, to stack the odds in your favor that you don't have as deep of an ROI hole that you've got to dig your way out of. And so you can go into this with a higher set of probabilities that you're actually going to have it work damn near right away, but not always. Okay, some of those things, let me be clear when I start this off. Variables that stack the odds it works, okay? Stack the odds, it works. Okay, bang. Number one, you got to do this first, okay? You got to dial in the messaging. If it's a brand new offer, that can fuck you right away because you don't necessarily know who you're trying to sell it to. A lot of the times people with new offers, especially, they like to, and you obviously have to guess, but you like to have this idea in your head of who you think's going to buy it. And sometimes you get a completely different audience of people that end up actually purchasing from you. If that happens, just keep that in mind. If you see the wrong people coming through, but there's still a willingness to buy, that'd make a lot of sense to go back and reflect on how you could update and change your messaging to appeal to the demographic that's coming through that's actually willing to buy. If you already have a proven offer, like maybe you're rolling something over that's worked organically and you're trying to figure it out via paid ads and organic are completely different. Like I get the opportunity right now, right here in this very video as a perfect example to just sit here and pour as much value into you as I can. You can leave this video and go watch all the other videos on my channel. And again, you're gonna get a fuckload of value from them, okay? And you're gonna be able to do things like potentially make some more money, not an income claim, potentially make some more money with some of the things that I talk about on the channel before you ever give me a dime or spend any money with me. You also, just due to the fact this is hosted on YouTube or hosted wherever it's at, going to have more willingness and time spent with me comparatively to how little time I'm gonna get with you in an ad if that's where I first reached you, okay? An ad, you are going to be at a much shorter fuse when it comes to judgment, okay? You might be sitting down at lunch while you're sitting here scrolling on this platform and get targeted by the opportunity to watch this very video, okay? You have maybe 10, 15 minutes on average where I'm gonna get your time and attention. And if I do well enough in the video and it appeals to you enough, you're gonna consistently give me more time and attention, maybe a handful more times throughout the month. And as that additional time accumulates, you become more familiar with me, you ideally start to like me a little more, and then maybe your willingness to buy goes up. That's not the case at all with an ad. An ad, especially in a social platform like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, even an ad on YouTube. Google AdWords, thankfully, with search and YouTube in some instances, can obviously have intent behind it. We have TikTok that's also just essentially a suggestion-based ad platform. The person's not there for you. The person's not even there to watch long-form content. The person's there to make, and this is how they're conditioned on these platforms, extremely quick judgments about what they're gonna spend that next few seconds consuming, and then they know that there is literally an infinite amount of other content that's tailored for them right after that one, if the one that's currently getting served to them is wrong. So from that perspective, we have to keep in mind that when I say messaging, okay, I'm talking literally about the first like 3 to 5 seconds of your video or that image that you target in front of the person, the headline and the body copy. That is the impression that I'm talking about when I talk about messaging. You need to have congruency in the messaging between the ad and what's on that landing page that you're gonna drive the traffic to. But I wanna make this so super clear, okay? You are judged damn near instantaneously. Okay, the average attention span per post has fallen to 1.8 seconds per post within the news feed. So that means on average, somebody's sitting there 1.8 seconds, scrolling to the next thing, 1.8 seconds, scrolling to the next thing. And by the way, that 1.8 seconds per post technically factors in, it's an average. So what's that really mean? That means the time that they flick past the wrong thing is arguably even less, far less than 1.8 seconds. Because to be clear, the average time spent on a video, let's say, that comes across your news feed that you might actually watch like a minute of, that's factored into every single post that you gave like a literal split second to before you just scrolled past. Pretty crazy. So again, if the average attention span per post is 1.8 seconds, we are damn near instantaneously judged. One of the other things that a lot of people get wrong when you talk about messaging is who the messenger is. Okay, messaging isn't just the words that are coming out of your mouth or the captions that are at the base of the video or the text that's above the video or in the headline. Messaging is also judging the messenger. Think about that. As an example, I'm a guy sitting here right now talking to you about hitting $1 million months. How silly would it be if I was wearing like a fucking Casio watch, you know, or if I wasn't wearing like $30,000 in jewels? You know what I mean? How silly would that be? How silly would it be if on all my other videos you didn't see me also stunting in my watch? How silly would it be if I wasn't talking to you in the penthouse up here, and a real penthouse, not one of those stupid broccoli hair Miami boys that just lives in an apartment high up in a building. This one actually has a PH in front of it and a 2,500 square foot balcony. I can land a helicopter out there. My neighbor's a retired NBA player, okay, and a well-known one at that. I live in a building full of OnlyFans girls, rappers, and a bunch of other crazy internet money people, and a bunch of people who also sold businesses. It's such a weird mix of people that we've got here. I was working out the other day. I looked up from a sit-up and I saw Ice Spice in the middle of doing crunches, okay? It's a weird environment here. But my point is, as the messenger talking to you, think about this. Do I align to who you think should be giving you this message? Because if not, you wouldn't be here listening to this right now. You would naturally think if I was the wrong person talking to you about this, I'm not gonna listen to this guy. If I hadn't helped 41 different businesses hit $1 million months, if I didn't have the level of genuine confidence and authenticity in my words as I sit here and communicate with you, you can sit here and tell right now, every single thing that I sit here and talk about has a nice, genuine, natural authenticity behind it. Have you actually looked at the list of the 41 people that I've helped hit $1 million months? No, you're judging things based on all these other variables I just described. Those are the subtle things that you actually judge from the messenger outside of the messaging that I'm sitting here talking to you about. Now imagine that in split-second decision making in under 1.8 seconds. What do you think's judged first? The messaging or the messenger? See, so you gotta play the role. If I'm sitting here and I'm talking to a very specific audience of people, let's say I'm targeting lawyers, and I'm not in the classic outfits that a lawyer's in, do you think a lawyer's gonna listen to me when I target them with my ads? No. If you're driving down the highway and you see the billboards for a lawyer that's targeting you, like one of the personal injury lawyers, or one of those lawyers that says they can get you out of any ticket that you're in, or one of those lawyers that claims they can help people with like workplace settlement lawsuits, how are the lawyers dressed? They're dressed like how you think a lawyer looks. Every one of you sitting here right now probably thought of a guy in a suit, or maybe a girl in a suit, or maybe a set of dudes in a suit. There's even a very classic font that is most commonly used by lawyers when they do those billboards. If you've seen one of their ads on TV when they say like, oh, this guy helped me get this amount of money or this amount of, think about the font and the colors they've used. Like they're all damn near the exact same. And that's important to understand. Imagine if you saw a lawyer ad and the lawyer's standing there wearing like fucking a Tommy Bahama Hawaiian shirt and open-toed flip-flops. It's just not what you'd expect. You'd be like, is that the fucking lawyer? You know, it's just not, you see what I'm saying? Now imagine you breaking that golden rule when you target somebody with your ads because you're a lazy turd and you didn't want to dress the part or look the part or go into the environment where they'd expect the part to be played. Human judgment is insane, okay? We're not one of those fucking hippies around here that's like,
oh, I don't care about how other people judge me.
no, as marketers, we give a deep fuck about how other people judge us because that's what dictates whether they pay attention to the rest of the shit that I'm paying for them to pay attention to and try to get them to respond to. Okay? So when I talk about messaging, keep in mind, it's not just the words, guys. The words are a huge part of it too, but the messenger matters a lot. Now, when you talk about the words, let me give you a perfect example of this in the simplest form. If I target the general public with some kind of make money offer, I have to talk to them at a level that they believe is realistic, true, possible, and something they could believe in. Okay, if I'm talking to rich people would never respond to something. I get DMs all the time as a perfect example of this, where some little fucking broccoli-haired dude is like,
hey dude, I could add another 10K a month to your business. And I'm like,
10K a month? Like, what the fuck am I gonna do with an extra 10K a month? Like, I don't even know the amount of things I could sit here and rifle off that I spend more than $10,000 on in a day most of the time. You know, $10,000 a month. Well, you want me to justify paying attention to that? Versus, I got a DM the other day from a guy who goes, Jeremy, I have a strategy that I think is gonna help you capture an extra 500 grand a month. It's like, I'm much more probable to respond to that guy in comparison to the guy who's talking to me about 10K months. It's also about the words used. I had a guy just recently, okay? He was an ad guy. We came and we did a consulting deal with him. We did weekly 1-hour calls with this dude. And one of the biggest things that he was struggling with on all these offers that he represented was just talking to the rich people that he was trying to target for these offers. And when we dug into it, he was trying to say words like cash, revenue, money, you know? And in reality, it's like rich people use words like liquidity. Rich people use words like capital. They don't use silly, unsophisticated words like money. They don't use the same words that the general population uses, okay? That's just not how it goes. They'll even use things as an example. If I'm targeting a rich person, let's say I'm a car detailer, okay? I'm not gonna use the word car. I'm gonna use the word fleet. Why? Because they're much more probable to have many cars in comparison to a single car. Okay, I got targeted by an ad the other day, and it was for a guy who between $35,000 and $200,000 would fly to your home anywhere in the world, okay, and do a wardrobe overhaul where he would do all your measurements, take in all your preferences, fly to you to do all this. You'd give the guy permission to come back into your home, or he'd even use the term, you could have one of your staff members let us into the home if you're not there. He fucking knows that every rich person's got staff in their house like every fucking day of the week, whether it be maids, people they trust that are just already up in here anyway, okay? He's like, you can just have one of your staff let us in, or eventually when you trust us enough, you can just let us in and tell us how to get in there. And we'll come in, and what we'll do is we'll audit the existing wardrobe that you have. We'll ensure that we update things on a seasonal basis. We'll make sure that, and he starts talking about all these like sports coats and little collared shirts, and he points out the tiniest little details that if a rich person ever complained about, they would get fucking hung in the streets for complaining about. Like a tiny little fucking crease in the shirt of their collar. Or like if they complained that their dry cleaner used wet cleaning and it created a crease on their cuffling. Imagine, right? Regular people would be in a fucking uproar if they heard the things that rich people complained about, okay? But this guy, he says the words for you, so you don't have to say it yourself. He understands the tiny little things that you give a fuck about that leave a positive or negative impression on the counterparty that you're meeting up with. He uses the circumstances that he knows you're already in and living with to appeal to that demographic. Okay, the same thing as the little money terms, like money, dollars, cash, like general public terms. Okay, coupons. When the fuck is the last time you've heard a rich person use the word coupon? It's like, I don't even think I've heard the word coupon for like a decade. You know, this might be the first time I'm saying it and I don't even know how long, okay? Now the word discount, to be fair, discounts are still a term that rich people will use, but coupon, get fucked, not a term they use, okay? Now my point is, little tiny things like that. Those are the words that you use that are judged, okay? And remember, just like I said with the little broccoli-haired boy that's like, hey, you wanna make $10,000 a month, Jeremy? I'm like, $10,000 a month versus the guy that's like, I want to help you make 500 grand extra a month. It's like, all right, now we're cooking. Okay, send me the video. I'd love to see it. That's what I'm talking about. That difference in messaging and those layers of what I just communicated to you. That's what makes the difference. Okay, so remember that. The messenger and the words. And remember how fast they're judged. Don't start an ad. One of the number one rules that people break when they make ads, especially when they're launching VSLs, they'll start the ad with things that nobody gives a fuck about because they omit how fast people will judge you. They'll start off the ad with like,
hey everybody, my name's Jeremy Haynes.
Gone, skip, scroll. Nobody cares about that. You get one of those fucking idiots that's like, stop scrolling. It's like, no, I'm gonna instantly scroll just to stunt on you on that one, okay? Don't do those kinds of things. It's like, just immediately get into the value dense part of the information that you're actually trying to articulate, and articulate it from a place and an environment, and as the person, that's the right messenger to be the one delivering that to them. You'll have a much better time, okay? 2, let's talk about the page itself. Okay, so first of all, page speed matters a ton. Page speed, the branding, it's remarkable to me, to be fair. Like, I'll get people that'll join our Inner Circle program. That's where we do our twice a month one-on-one calls, our weekly group calls on topics just like this, but in so much more depth with plenty of examples, the ability to ask Q&A in real time. You could DM me anytime and every time that you want. I'll answer your questions when I'm not doing things like this. You get unlimited access to AI Jeremy in there, where you can do voice, video calls, unlimited messaging as well. It remembers everything you talk about. In addition to all that, we do quarterly in-person masterminds, and we have our group chat, very active, full of rich people trying to get a fuckload richer, okay? We have people that join into the Inner Circle. The minimum to be in there is $100K a month. That's the bare fucking minimum you gotta make. Most people join in there doing like 200 to 300K a month already. We get guys, we just had a guy join in the other day, already at 1.1 mil a month. We had a guy about 2 months ago joins in, already at $1 million a month. Those guys are trying to tack on the next million, okay? But anyway, point I'm trying to make is, one of these guys joins in, he's already doing like 200 to 300K a month. And you look at his page, and it just looks like shit. Like, it loaded so slow. The branding was so bad. Like, it just screamed low trust and like, this is a scam. Like, it just looked like shit. You know, that's the thing. I anticipate that almost every one of you sitting here watching this is just like me. You want to get way fucking richer, you have high standards, and you'll do damn near anything and everything that's ethical and integrous to get there, okay? And you're looking for those tips, you're looking for the best practices to drive your revenue up, okay? And one of those tips that helps a lot is branding. There's a great book that has a ton of tactics in it, the 22 immutable laws of branding, okay? Not of marketing, of branding, that you can go and read. But just go look. When you take your page, and this is what I did with that Inner Circle member. I pulled up his page and I asked him, I go, who are all your competitors? And he goes and he shows me like 5 different people. And I pull up their pages and I got a 49-inch monitor. It's fucking super wide. And I pull up all 5 of the competitors and I pull up his page next to it and I share the whole screen. And I just go, look how shitty your page looks compared to all these other guys that you say are making more money than you. And it's like, you guys relatively all have similar offers and similar messaging, but your page just looks like shit. And if you're a consumer and you have the opportunity where, okay, I'm gonna give you a great example. My MBA neighbor I was telling you about, the guy retired, I go outside the other day, just a classic stand on the balcony and look over the city like Batman kind of vibe at night. And this is F1 weekend where F1's in town here in Miami. And I look over on my neighbor's balcony and I notice there's like a fucking 12-person sectional couch and some lounge chairs and a nice large like outdoor dining table. And I was like, dude, that looks so sick. And I was like, outside of the fact it looks cool, where we're perched on the building, we're not at the literal top. There's probably like 5 floors above us with some units and then amenity floors. And we look up at this building and it's got all these beautiful lights on it. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, oh man, I gotta experience that vibe of just laying on the sectional couch at night, looking up at this building, dude, like the clouds, like what a fucking vibe that would be. I gotta find one of these couches. So I go and I post on my Insta story, I say, hey guys, like I'm looking for an exterior designer, somebody who can help me get this kind of setup. You know, I want like this size of couch. I get fuck all for people that respond to me, but glory to the ad channels. I start getting targeted ads for outdoor sectionals, okay? And I see a 9-seater outdoor sectional and I start getting real excited. I look at it and I message the page because I had a question about white glove delivery, because obviously I'm not gonna get a fucking 9-seater sectional delivered to my building and build it myself. You know? Anyway, I message these people and I'm like, hey, you have any white glove delivery options? I don't hear back shit, okay? I'm still in the middle of this cycle, by the way. It's been like 6 days. I still haven't heard shit from those people. But in those 6 days, again, glory to the ad channels. I start getting targeted by even more outdoor sectionals now that they know your boy's in the market. So I, at this point, have 7 different options, okay, for outdoor sectionals, and all of them have little variations. Like some of them are made of teak wood and one of them's made of some Japanese wood, and the cushions are all a little different. Well, as you can imagine, up here on this floor with a fucking giant open air, no roof balcony, there's gonna be a lot of wind. I need cushions that can, like, I can ensure are not gonna fly off the balcony. I either need them to have a little zipper on the back so I can put like a weight in there, or even more ideal than that, they just have like something that attaches them to the physical couch. I need the couch also to allow me to like weight it down. I need like a really fucking heavy couch so this thing doesn't fly off the balcony, and I don't wanna have to make it a permanent structure of the building. You see what I'm saying? I got rich person problems that I need attention on, okay? But I'm going through this process and I have all these options. As you can imagine, one of the main things I'm doing as I'm shopping through all these different options is I'm judging them. Just like the example I provided with the Inner Circle member when he's getting stacked against 5 competitors, okay? People rarely just instantly buy unless it's a low enough price point to just instantly buy. Almost all of you sitting here have a high ticket product or service. You're pushing people through a lead gen system. You're pushing people through something where they have to talk to somebody to buy. And if your people, just like the fucking first outdoor couch company I talked to, delay talking to me by 6 fucking days, I get 6 more options within those 6 days of other people that I'm now highly considerate to purchase from. The first couch, I would have instantly bought if they just would have had a white glove delivery option. I wouldn't have even thought twice about it. But because they didn't have that option, it's readily available online for me, and they didn't get back to me instantly, now I got all these other options. Now I am very judgmental of the first couch. It doesn't look as cozy. You ever been on a couch where the couch itself, like the cushion of the couch, has a pretty big divot in between that cushion and the next cushion? It looks like I could lose a phone for eternity in there. They look like black hole pits in between each one of the cushions. That doesn't seem like it's gonna be that cozy to achieve my vision and my vibe to lay on the sectional and just look straight up at this building. That's not gonna help me. It looks like it's gonna be bad. However, many of the other couches on the other 6 companies look remarkably better. And I'm judging it based on the pages. because obviously I'm not seeing the couches in real life. I'm judging it based on the photos they use. Some of these people place these couches in the most aesthetic rich person environments ever. They're like $12,000 couches. They're not placing them in some little shithole house. They're placing them in beautiful outdoor environments that look exactly like where I've been and where I am and where I would likely place the couch. Nobody's shown it to me on a massive balcony. However, that's okay. I know the rarity of the balcony, so I'm not expecting that. However, I'm judging the quality of the couch based on like some of these little small details that they're showing me in the photos. I'm judging the brand and the business. I was just in the market. I'm not trying to sound like a dick when I say this. Don't think anything I'm saying is me being pretentious, okay? I just booked this PJ the other day, okay? I was going to Palm Springs for a wedding coming up for one of my buddies, Josh Troy, and I'm flying into LA, okay? I'm doing commercial for that, lay down seats with JetBlue, of course, okay? And as soon as I get to LA, spending a few days at a nice house in the hills there, and I'm taking a PJ from Van Nuys over to Palm Springs, and then Palm Springs and back. Okay, and I'm doing a little weekend trip there in the Palm Springs desert for the wedding. And when I'm going to book the PJ, just super coincidentally, I had some random guy in my DM inbox that was telling me like, hey, you know, I'm a private jet broker. I can help with all your charter requests and I have a really wide network and like, you know, just tell me what you need. So I'm not joking, like the literal day that I needed to book it, this guy pops at the top of my DMs and I'm like, sick. I go to message him. I tell him the trip. He's talking to me in a super professional way, you know, just like everybody else in the entire PJ world does. Very respectful, very attentive, you know, Mr. Haynes talk, that kind of stuff. And moral of the story is, when I go and look the guy up, like I just clicked his profile, he's got like 34 followers. You know, and no disrespect to the guy. If he's new to the game, he's, you know, doesn't really know what he's doing, it's like, okay, that's one thing. But like then I go to Google the guy's name, can't find anything about the guy on Google. I go to Google his company name, can't find anything about the guy on Google when I look up his company name either. So it's like, what do I do instead? I hit up one of the brokers that I've already used in the past, that I already have a great relationship with, that I can look up everything about online, that has a profile that's well represented with a few thousand followers, and that's also verified because he likely pays for the verification, with a company that's reputable that I can look up and that I can see reviews for. And it gives me a lot more trust when I'm doing a high dollar value transaction for a jet. You see what I mean? It's like just little things like that. It's like, dude, the other guy wasn't bad at all with the low follower count and without the research online. He was a great guy, okay? There was nothing wrong with the guy, but there was nothing there that could give me the trust that I needed. You see, there was nothing there that could address the things that I actually wanted to know about the guy that were gonna get the deal done. You see what I'm saying? That's what your page does. So if your page looks like shit, if you build it with super low standards just to get it out there, it's like, help yourself a little bit, you know? At least brand it well. At least make it look good. At least make it visually striking. Okay? Now to be clear, there's plenty of other tips that I could sit here and talk about. And honestly, I'm enthusiastic about this specific topic and I love talking about it, to be clear. But I love edging you guys on YouTube, you know? As I sit here in my flow just wanting to keep talking, I gotta hold myself back a little bit for the people who pay me. So moral of the story is, check out the links in the description. I've got topics on this in extreme depth in my Inner Circle program. In addition to that, I have an incredible 7-week program that we are upcoming doing another live cohort for here in late summer called Master Internet Marketing. You can get the first week of that for free. You can check out a preview of one of the past class recordings to get an idea of how in-depth the class is, how long they are, and how great they are, just to get a feel for it before you actually buy from us, if you'd prefer to go that route. But if you're making $100K a month or more, and keep in mind, there's guys in there that come in doing $1 million a month or more, check out the link for the Inner Circle down below. I'd love the opportunity to help you there more than anywhere else. And at the very least, subscribe to the channel, check out some of my other videos. They're all bangers. Looking forward to helping you get richer. Talk soon.